What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The Night Shift. I'm your host, as always, Zach Hernandez, and I have a very special guest on the show today. I have 49ers reporter Grant Cohn on the show with me. What's up, Grant? How we doing today, man?
I don't know how you're doing, man. I'm doing great. How you doing?
I'm doing good, dude. It's always a good day out here, talking sports. I'm really appreciative that you could come on the show with me, man. Should be a ton of fun. We're going to have a full 49er based episode for you guys today. Talk all things Niners, playoffs, how we think they're going to do, all sorts of stuff. I'm just super pumped. Again, dude, thanks for hopping on. This should be a good time. You ready to get into it?
Absolutely. And for people who don't know, you were doing a podcast with someone and they asked you who you would like to do a stream with, and you were like, me.
Yeah.
So I saw it like a month later and I was like, hey, let's do that. So
Yeah.
make it happen.
No, dude. That was money, dude. I did a podcast with Colin Jordan. He did a Truth About Marketing podcast where he has a bunch of people in the marketing world on his show. And he said, who's your favorite influencer, and who's one person you'd always want to work with? And instantly I thought of Grant because this is what I love to do. I love to talk sports. I have my podcast. This is how I want to this is the field area I want to get into. And also I just love how you keep it real with people, dude. Like, you don't sugarcoat stuff. Like, you're realistic. And you're objective, which I think is kind of like, we don't see that a whole lot anymore, I feel like. So that's why I appreciate you as a journalist and reporter. Um,
What
but
an
yeah,
intro. Thank you so much. Keep going. Don't stop.
I
It's all right.
I know that, right, dude? Exactly.
I
No, dude. But
appreciate it.
again, of course, dude. No, I appreciate you coming on. But let's hop into it, dude. And the first thing that I really want to talk about today is who we think the biggest X factor is for the Niners. So obviously, Niners hopping into the playoffs is the first seed. We have a bye week this week, and then we play again next week. We're gonna play the lowest seed remaining. And as we know, the Niners have kind of fumbled the bag in the playoffs these last couple of years, and there's always some things going wrong, whether you think it's coaching or lackluster quarterback, whatever you think it is. There's always something going wrong. And something that I just want to get into is what you think the biggest X factor, or who you think the biggest X factor is for the Niners in the playoffs.
That's a great question. You could go so many different directions with this. When you think X factor, like what's the definition of an X factor? Someone who is unheralded or a little beneath the radar, or someone who, frankly, if they're not there, the whole thing falls apart.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go with that one.
Mm-hmm.
The guy who is integral to everything, maybe the most valuable player on the team. And what's funny is all year people were arguing, is it Purdy? Is it McCaffrey? The most valuable player on the 49ers is Trent Williams. It's
Mm-hmm.
not even close.
Mm-hmm.
Every single play they run is predicated on him winning his block.
Mm-hmm.
And he does, like 100% of the time. If he misses any time, they're in trouble. They have a decent enough offensive line with him there. They can run to the left. They can do they have phenomenal blindside protection. But if he's not out there, all of a sudden they have the cheapest, worst offensive line in the league. And I don't know that you're going to win a Super Bowl without. So he's the oldest player on the team. He doesn't practice very much. He's a future Hall of Famer. It's all about him. And I think we're going to talk about teams that challenge the Niners a little bit later, but I think the reason that the Niners don't want to face Cleveland again is because Cleveland has Myles Garrett. And Myles Garrett is the only player in the league who can win reps. Not all of them. Like against most DNs, Trent Williams wins 10 out of 10 times.
Totally.
Against Myles Garrett, 8 out of 10, 7
Mm-hmm.
out of 10, because Myles Garrett is that good. And if so, that's why that matchup, who knows if the Niners will get to the Super Bowl, who they'll face, but Cleveland is the one team that can sort of match up with the Niners X factor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think Trent, all year I've been saying the same thing. I think Trent is our most valuable player. I mean, you got McCaffrey in there as well, but Trent holds the whole thing together. And when Trent wasn't there, we saw how. I mean, when Trent's not there, this offensive line is like bottom tier offensive line. Like
They
it's
can't
not good.
run, they can't pass, like it's all bad. But like
Yeah.
if McCaffrey goes out, you still have
Mhm.
Jordan Mason, Elijah Mitchell, Debo Samuel. You can run the ball.
You're right.
And frankly, if Purdy goes down, I don't know. Maybe Sam Darnold could move the ball a little bit. I don't know. I'm not going to
Maybe.
say anything. I don't know.
Maybe Trey could have. I don't know. I don't know. But no, I agree, dude. And that's the thing too. Yeah, I mean, we saw it. We saw when Trent was down how horrid this offensive line was and gives Purdy no time. So I mean that's a great point. Absolutely.
And
I kind
running the
of
ball
took.
is hard too without him. Like every
Oh
run
yeah.
that's successful is to the left. And if
hmm
you take him out, like where you going?
Don't run
Where
nowhere.
you
Yeah,
going?
you can't
Behind
run
Jalen
anywhere.
Moore? Yeah, I don't know.
Yikes. You're right,
Yeah.
dude. No, Trent, if Trent doesn't show up, which I mean, I'm obviously fully expecting he will, but if for some reason Trent's not playing like he has, then there's no shot that this offense would be able to move like it has. So I'm
I
with
mean,
you on
it
that,
just
dude.
comes down to the oldest players in health,
hmm
which is a little scary in football. But football's one big tightrope act anyway.
hmm Totally. 100%,
hmm
dude. Um, I kind of took a different route. I got two guys that I think really have to show up who sometimes don't show up. But if they do show up, I think it's really going to boost our chances. And the first one's Kyle Shanahan. We've seen
Yeah,
in the past, and I haven't been too
yeah.
critical of Shanahan this season as much as I have in the past because I think for the most part, he's been generally really building up schemes and helping this offense our offense looks extremely good, and it looks for the most part, and that's why I haven't been bagging on Shanahan too much. But obviously, we've seen when the playoffs roll around, Kyle starts to get a little conservative, starts to play not to lose, starts to make some really dumb decisions, and then ultimately comes back to bite us. And that's happened many times. I mean, on so many different occasions. So like that's my biggest thing too is that all season I've been saying, yeah, the Niners might be this good, but I'm not getting my hopes up just yet because I'm kind of waiting for a Kyle Shanahan blunder, dude?
I mean, didn't the Christmas night game feel like one? And maybe people
Mm-hmm.
will say, "Hey, Kyle was playing 4D chess. He didn't show his A game plan. He went with something else. He tried to throw to win the game. If they face him in the Super Bowl, he'll have his A game plan.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. Otherwise, that's the only way to explain him having the worst performance of the season in that
Yeah,
game.
totally. It was that game was definitely his worst. It was just nothing looked good from Shanahan in that game, which definitely scared me. And I saw a bunch of like, oh, they'll meet him back in the Super Bowl, they'll be fine. Like, how do we know that? How do we know Kyle's got that up his sleeve? I have no idea. But all I know is that we've seen Kyle Shanahan choke in the playoffs time and time again, and I'm just praying that if he's not going to choke, this is the year to not choke, Kyle, because this is the best team we've got. Our offense looks the best. You finally have a good quarterback. So this is a year I'm hoping it doesn't happen.
It
But
seems like he blinks in the big pressure moments.
totally.
Against Dallas 2 years ago in Dallas, Debo had to walk over to him during the game and say, "Give me the ball."
hmm
And then against Dallas last year at home, I think it was Juszczyk and McCaffrey had to go up to him and be like, "Can we just stop trying to trick these guys and line up and go right at him?"
Yeah.
Kyle's, I think sometimes when there's a lot of pressure, he loses instead of having confidence in what the Niners have been doing, he tries to trick the other team.
hmm
And in doing so, he calls plays that maybe his team isn't as good at running, as
hmm
opposed to just trusting that he has the best team. And if he calls the plays that they had the most success with throughout the season, that the talent will win. I don't know.
Yeah.
He needs to not make that mistake this year.
I totally agree. And I think that like you said, he just tries to outsmart the other team. I think he thinks way too hard. Not that he shouldn't be thinking hard, but I just think he's like that guy in chess. Like if you're playing chess, he's just like, well, if I do this, then he's gonna do that. So then I don't have to do that. So then he's gonna do that. And it's like it's like, dude, just make your move. Go with what's been working this entire time.
Yeah.
And he's
Yeah.
made that mistake so many times. You know?
You'd understand if he was coaching like a wild card team or some team that was really overperforming, but this team is really good. There's so many ways that they can impose their will. Going back to that Ravens game,
hmm
it's like he expected the Ravens to try to shut down McCaffrey.
hmm
First thing you got to do is shut down McCaffrey. You got to play it in the box. They didn't do that
Mm-mm.
at all. They didn't stop the run. They played two deep safeties and said, "We have the best pass defense in the league. We're going to play zone and we're going to dare you to try to pass into it." And Kyle's like, "Okay, I'll try." And it didn't work. But the run
Mm-mm.
was available to them all night
Mm-hmm.
and they didn't commit to it. Maybe Kyle would say the score got away from him, but I bet you if they play him again, they won't let that happen.
Yeah, definitely not. And that was my biggest thing in that game too was because McCaffrey had a couple of runs and he was killing it, and Shanahan just abandoned it. Like you said, he like fell into their trap. They were like forcing him to pass. They weren't even forcing him. It's just like they were baiting him to pass, and he was like, "All right, I'm gonna start passing." And obviously, Purdy was not on his mark either that game.
I've like
But
memorized that game because it was very interesting and the Niners lost. But if
hmm
I remember correctly, they were playing like terribly in the first half.
hmm
3 picks in the first 4 drives.
hmm
I've memorized this game. I think it was the 5th drive or their last drive of the first half. They're down 13-5.
hmm
And I believe every play except one goes to McCaffrey. Pass to McCaffrey, run to McCaffrey. There's a quarterback sneak for a first down, but then he gets like a 39-yard run and then a 12-yard touchdown or whatever, 9-yard touchdown. And it's just the McCaffrey drive. It's so easy. And they're back in the game, 13-12. Ravens get the ball, kick a field goal, go into halftime up 4. Niners get the ball to start the second half. And I think they go like run, pass, 3 and out. And it's just like,
hmm
man, you had it.
hmm
You were right there in the game and you didn't commit to running right there. And then it was turnover, touchdown. And they were down 33-12 real fast. And maybe Kyle say you can't run at that point. But I think they can beat the Ravens, I guess is what we're trying to say. But maybe that's a topic for later in the show. I think they
Well, I
can beat the
agree.
Ravens.
I
Yeah.
agree. I think they can beat the Ravens, but again, like I've been saying,
Yeah.
yeah, it comes down to Kyle Shanahan. What's he gonna do? I mean, is he gonna crumble and is he gonna, go with
Actually, sorry to cut you off, but for
no?
me, I'm more concerned about Wilkes against the Ravens than Shanahan.
hmm Yeah, I mean that's valid too. I think
He
it's.
got
I mean
smoked.
he did get. I mean
He got smoked.
the whole
Yeah, it was
game,
bad.
everywhere it was bad. So I agree too. That's extremely valid.
He made
Um,
Lamar Jackson look like super Lamar Jackson. They couldn't
mhm,
stop him.
mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. No, and that's true as well. And I think for the Niners, I don't know if the Niners defense, I don't know. I mean, I guess back with Sala and D'Amico, they could have, but it's like I feel like the Niners have always had
I don't
trouble
know
with
about that.
quarterbacks like
That's what I'm
Lamar.
saying.
That yeah,
That's what
so
I'm
it's like
saying.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's why I'm leaning towards the offense where it's like just get this offense to where we know it can be at such a high level and that will help us
Yeah.
out so much, right?
It's just tough though. Like if the Niners are like their game plan against Baltimore is on offense, okay, let's dial it back, be conservative, run it a
Mhm.
lot, kind of like what we used to do with Jimmy Garoppolo, because
Mhm.
this is the best pass defense in the league. Okay. All right. Well, your defense is letting Lamar Jackson escape the pocket and make throws on the run. And those plays are going to be bigger than your runs. It just is. So that's why I
Mhm.
keep coming back to Steve Wilkes. You got to keep Lamar Jackson in one spot. And I know that's easier said than done, but they did a terrible job of that in that game. They rushed
Mhm.
4. The defensive ends kept rushing past him. And like if you picture it,
Mhm.
those diagonal scramble lanes up and
Mhm.
out,
Mhm.
when the defensive ends rush past, those diagonal scramble lanes kill you because all of a
Mhm.
sudden you're on the perimeter quick. What they did with Jalen Hurts was they didn't give those up. They didn't.
Yep.
They were selfless in their rushes. They weren't trying to get sacks, and they forced him to rush back and around, and he wasn't fast enough to pull it off. Like Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner could run him down. You got to make Lamar Jackson do that. You can't give
Mhm.
up those diagonal scramble lanes. You'll lose. He doesn't even have to run. All he has to do is get out of the pocket and make throws. He's as good as anyone I've ever seen doing that. And
Mhm.
the Niners like invited him to do it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, and that's what the Niners. That's like we've said. That's how they've been against quarterbacks like Lamar, and obviously Lamar's kind of one of one. I mean, he's such an elite runner, and his passing has improved drastically, which makes him much harder to be able to contain. But Steve
I
Wilkes
think it's
definitely has.
no,
Go
sorry, go
ahead.
ahead.
I was just gonna
Well,
say Steve Wilkes needs some answers, but go ahead. Yeah, yeah.
I think it's sort of it was an issue for D'Amico and Salah too. It's sort of
Mhm.
a symptom of the wide nine. Just
Mhm.
picture the wide nine. You take these DNs, you put them as far out as possible and say, don't worry about the run. Like play the run on the way to the quarterback. You're inviting them to rush past the quarterback. And that's why I think against a stationary quarterback, it's brutal. But against a
Mhm.
guy who wants to get out of the pocket, it's vulnerable.
Tough. Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Totally, dude. That's a great point. Steve Wilkes is definitely he's gonna be another X factor. That's a good one. And I had one more guy that I did want to bring up too, and that's Jake Moody. He scares me, man. And the one thing that I saw, so against the Rams, because Moody, he obviously
Good
missed
call.
that kick. He missed a kick against the Browns. early in the season, and then he was pretty much good up until that, and then he's been pretty solid for the most part, but he's been okay. But against the Rams, he missed. Obviously, he missed a couple kicks, and all I see is, oh, at least he missed them now and not in the playoffs. I'm like, well, how do you know that he's gonna make them in the playoffs? Like, what? It
Right.
doesn't just because he missed them week 18 doesn't mean he's going to make them in the playoffs. So if Jake Moody doesn't come through, because sometimes Kyle has to rely on his field goal unit, and we don't have Robbie Gold anymore. So if Jake Moody doesn't come through, it could be brutal.
Yeah, Jake was in a great spot where the Niners were winning by double digits. It felt like 3/4 of the season.
Hmm.
He had to kick field goals, but you can't remember any one that like he absolutely had to make. Oh, you can remember a couple, but he missed them. And the one in Cleveland.
Yep.
That's really the only one I could think of where he's like, man, this
Yeah.
this is it. This is the game.
Hmm.
So I don't know if the Niners will be in that position this year, but I'm starting to look at Jake Moody like he's not the guy. And he might get through this year and he may not cost him a Super Bowl this year, but I don't know that he's going to be on the team long term because it seems like he might be a little bit of a head case with a strong leg.
Yeah. I think it kind of scares me because I hope you're right and I hope that it doesn't come down to him, because if it does, that would scare the piss out of me. But it makes me go back to third round pick, and you have a Super Bowl contending roster and you go and pick a kicker. And I mean, yeah, I'm all for having a good kicker, but I mean, we had Robbie Gold, and this guy clearly is not it. He's so shaky. He gives me such shaky vibes when he's out there. Like, even if he makes one, I feel like he just barely gets it
Barely
into.
in. Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd think on such a established team, you'd want more of an established kicker, just something you don't have to worry about. But here we go. It'd be a
Uh-huh.
shame if the kicker ended the season, but football is cruel like that sometimes.
It is. It would be terrible. The rookie kicker. And I guess if you're Dallas with Brandon Aubrey, a rookie kicker's okay. That guy's like automatic, dude. He's like 36 of 36 or something on field goals. But
And they didn't draft him, did they? He was undrafted.
yeah, undrafted.
Yeah.
Yeah, see? You don't need to
Yeah.
waste a third round pick on one, dude.
You don't. You really don't.
Yeah, that didn't end up working out for us. But anyways, Shanahan and Jake Moody are kind of my two guys that I think need to show up in order for the Niners to, have their.
Those are good. I like those. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Okay, I kind of want to move on to this next thing. I kind of want to play a little game right here, dude. So what we're gonna do? I got every playoff team here besides the Niners, and on a scale of 1 to 10, I want you, if you were like the Niners, I want you to just rate them, how much you would fear them if going against them. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
All right, let's do it. Start off. It's in a random order. Miami Dolphins.
Uh, a 6.
That's where I got them too.
A 6. I mean, Tyreek Hill's tough. Mike McDaniel's really clever. Vic Fangio, great coach, but they've lost like all their edge rushers. They're always hurt. They're
Hmm.
soft. Who was not that good?
Hmm.
Tua, last time we saw him against the Niners, was absolutely terrified of that pass rush. You could see it.
Yeah,
Nah, he doesn't inspire confidence.
I would have them lower, to be honest, if it wasn't for like Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, because
Mhm.
they could potentially
Mostert.
cook our secondary, and Mostert too. I mean, they're all just so fast, which is so
Yeah.
valuable. So I have them as a 6 as well. Obviously, that would only
Mhm.
happen in the Super Bowl because they're AFC. But okay,
Mhm.
next, Green Bay Packers.
A 7.
Mm.
A 7. Jordan Love is really good.
Hmm.
He's a first year starter who was I don't think people realize how good he was in the second half of the season. First half of the season, he was up and down. Second half of the season, I think last 8 games, 20 touchdowns, no pick, 1 pick. Um,
Yeah.
the team's probably a year away from being serious contenders. That's why I say a 7. But they have a young quarterback who can do everything.
Hmm.
He can move, he can get out of the pocket, he can scramble, he can throw down the field. He's quite good. 7.
Yeah, I have him I have him at a 6. And for kind of the same reasons, really. Just I think, like you said, I've kind of said that they're not quite there yet. Obviously, being Super Bowl contenders, but they're that team that could kind of make some noise in the playoffs and then just have an even better season next year.
Yeah.
Um, I like Jordan Love, dude. He's good stuff. He's
Mhm.
really good. Okay, this is an interesting one. Philadelphia.
A 2.
I
A
like it,
2.
dude.
They
Yeah.
seem like they're I'm not gonna say trying to get their coach fired. I don't know, but it seems like they're worse than bad. That
Hmm.
they're dysfunctional. They seem
Hmm.
completely dysfunctional, and I
Hmm.
don't see Nick Sirianni pulling them out of that this season.
Hmm.
I mean, they've lost to terrible teams. They lost to the Giants and the Cardinals, a 2, and that's generous. You could say a 1. They're
That
dead.
is just, yeah, I have them at a
They're dead.
3.
Okay.
They are, just because same thing,
Dead.
dude. I mean, I have them. I guess I'd have them a little higher than a 2, just solely because of the talent on the team. It's just there is
Mm.
still a lot of talent there that we'd have to be able to stop, and obviously, I think we'd be able to. Um, but like you said, dude, it's just a mess over there right now. They haven't looked good, and I think AJ Brown is he got hurt last week too, so they're kind of dealing with some injuries
He
as
just
well.
deleted all his Eagle stuff off his Instagram, so they're
Did
doing
he?
good. Yeah,
Oh, geez, like Devo
yeah, they're
did that
good.
one year. That's funny.
In the
Yeah, dude,
off
they
season, not right
in the
before the
offseason.
playoffs. My goodness,
Yep. That would have been, yeah, you're
they're
right.
gonna lose in the first round. Zach,
I totally could see that happening, dude.
they're gonna
I mean,
fire Nick Sirianni. Zach,
that's what it sounds like. I mean, I've been seeing a lot of things like that too, that Nick Sirianni's
yeah,
time could be up there. Then I wonder who they go
now
with.
that's a nice job to take.
Mm-hmm.
Would Harbaugh want that job,
Harbaugh? I was thinking that
or
too,
do you
dude.
want to coach Jalen Hurts? I don't know. Maybe Harbaugh would.
That could be pretty crazy if Harbaugh went there. That would
Mm-hmm.
make them pretty scary.
Belichick could go there.
Mm-hmm. Stay
I don't
on
know.
the East Coast. There's so many head coach jobs open right now.
There are.
There's like 10.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to a team that this matchup will likely not happen, but the Steelers.
A 5.
Oh, really? I'd have them a little lower, but go ahead.
Well, I mean, they beat him already. They beat him in Pittsburgh. If they make it to the Super Bowl, that means
True.
that Mason Rudolph is real hot. But still, it's Mason Rudolph, so I can't give more
True.
than a 5.
Yeah, that's
It's a good
valid.
defense. Yeah.
That is they do have a really good defense. And Mike
T.J.
Tomlin,
Watt
he's
had 3
always
sacks against the Niners that one game. I don't know.
you're right.
George Pickens is good.
I could bet on Mike Tomlin out coaching Kyle Shanahan in a Super Bowl duel.
Maybe
I don't know.
they already
That'd
fired
be
their offensive
interesting.
coordinator this year. I guess they're a little bit different than the team the Niners faced earlier this year, but I don't think they're good enough. They're not going to the Super Bowl. I'll be shocked.
Definitely
Mason
not.
Rudolph.
Definitely not. Okay, Dallas.
A 6.
Okay.
They're soft.
Uh-huh.
And Mike McCarthy isn't good, and Dak Prescott saves his worst for the Niners. They all seem intimidated by that team. Micah
Mhm.
Parsons does nothing against the Niners. A
Mhm.
6. That team in general is way worse on the road too.
Mhm. Yeah, Michael Parsons does do nothing against us. And then he always goes on his podcast after and starts crying about it. And he's like, just wait, just wait. Okay, what are we waiting for?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that I'm not too scared of the Cowboys. However, I do think them and another team, but I do think that the Cowboys in the NFC, I think it won't be a super easy matchup. I'd have them at like an 8 right now, just because they do
Okay.
kind of scare me. Because CeeDee Lamb is so money, dude, and I love Mooney Ward, bro, but I'm just hoping that he'd be able to contain CD because I'm a CD guy, like, and he helped me to my fantasy championship this year, so I was watching a lot of Cowboys games.
Okay.
But Dallas is good. But we've proved to be able to really contain Micah Parsons, and if we can do that, I think we'll be
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Super Bowl rematch of 2019, Kansas City.
An 8.
Mm-hmm.
An 8. Best quarterback in the league. One of the best coaches in the league. Great defense.
Mm-hmm.
That's legit. That's scary. Travis Kelce seems like he's not what he used to be. You could blame Taylor Swift or not. I don't know. Maybe he's just 34 or 35. Rasheed Rice is good. And then about after that, they don't have much to throw to. Leading the league in drops. Darius Toney's just freaking terrible. It's the weakest they've been in a minute.
Totally.
8.
Definitely the weakest they've been in a while. I have them at a 9 though, just because Patrick Mahomes scares me, dude. And I would hate to go against him in the Super Bowl again after what he did to us in 2019, being down by 10 with 7 minutes to go, and completely seeing the Niners crumble and just seeing Mahomes. I mean, if anybody can do it, it's Mahomes. That's why it's like, yeah, their receivers are terrible and they've not been good, but I'm never gonna fully count out Patrick Mahomes,
No,
regardless of
not me
who's on
neither.
this team, you know?
For sure.
So definitely still high up there. Okay, Tampa Bay.
A 3.
I have them at a 3 too.
3. Enough said.
Yeah,
Baker
yeah,
Mayfield.
not much
Yeah.
to say. Move on.
No.
Buffalo, Super Bowl. It would have to be a Super Bowl matchup.
A 9.
Mm-hmm.
A
Interesting.
9. I
How
just think
come?
they're a little tougher than Kansas City. Got a
Mhm.
better running game. They got better receivers. And Josh Allen isn't better than Patrick Mahomes, but he's really tough on the Niners. I mean, he's going to take all those scramble lanes, and he's going to be really hard to bring down. And
Mhm.
he's exactly the kind of quarterback they have a tough time against.
Totally.
9. Yeah.
Yeah. I got him at a 7. Same type of reason, but they obviously have not looked. I guess as of recently, they've been a little bit better. The only thing is about Josh Allen is how much of a gunslinger he can be and how reckless he can get, which can definitely work in our favor at times. Um, but overall, they're still not a team to be scared or to be like take lightly. You know.
Their overall net points this year is plus 140, which is, I mean, Kansas City's plus 77. The
Is that the
Niners are
best in the
plus.
league?
No, the best in the league are the Ravens at plus 203.
Okay.
The Niners are plus 193, and Dallas is plus
Okay.
194. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that shows. I mean they're right. I mean there
Mhm.
was a little bit of a gap, but they're still the fourth highest differential. I mean they're
They
definitely not a
lost a lot
team
of
to
close
take
games.
lightly.
They lost a lot of close games.
Yeah, they're always in
Yeah.
it. Like you just can't count out. You can't count out Josh Allen because they have a good defense. They've got the weapons. Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis, even James Cook too. I mean they've got guys over there. So, um,
For sure.
all right, Detroit. This is an interesting one. I'm intrigued to hear what you say.
7.
Yeah, me too.
7. Good run game. And the Niners,
Mhm.
you need to run on the Niners because they don't really commit to stopping the run. They're not that good at setting edges. They don't play loaded boxes. So they got 2 really good running backs. Jahmyr Gibbs, he's
He'll be
explosive.
tough. He'll be tough to stop.
Oh, he's really good. And they have a really good offensive line.
hmm
That being said, their defense isn't special and their quarterback isn't special. And their coach, let's talk about the coach. That's what
Let's
you
do
really
it.
need to talk about. A lot of people like him. He might win coach of the year. What he did against at the end of the game against the Cowboys, I thought was extremely troubling.
hmm
Like, he made an emotional decision.
hmm
It's fine to go for 2, not from the 7.
Nope.
Not from the 7. And he didn't have a good reason why he did it. He just said, "Well, I said we were going to go down there and go for 2. And that was that." Like, what?
It's good, dude. I
Whoa.
I totally agree, and I was
I
on
don't
that
trust
same
him.
I was on that
Yeah.
same train, dude. And I think
What?
I think Dan Campbell is like, I don't know, this could be crazy, but I feel like he might be just trying super hard to like establish himself as this like ultimate risk taker guy. And he's like, oh, well, I'm gonna go for 2 in these certain situations. Because I see everyone like, oh, Dan Campbell's style of football, he's the risk taker. Like, I love the way he's
Mhm.
aggressive. And it's like, you just screwed yourself out of a win because you tried to
What
be
he
too
was impulsive. It's
impulsive.
fine to be aggressive and to be like coldly calculated and make a decision, but he was hot. He was
hmm
angry. He was
hmm
mad that they called ineligible, whatever the flag was. He
hmm
was mad. He was on tilt and he went for it simply because of his emotions. You're
Yeah.
telling me he's not going to be in a similar situation at all in the playoffs? I don't trust that guy under pressure. Maybe he'll
hmm
dial it in, but right now he's a question.
Good point.
His decision making.
Yeah. Impulsive. Good point. That was
Like,
good.
have you watched The
I
Godfather? Have you seen The Godfather?
actually have not.
All right, never mind. Because
Kind
it's
of.
like, if you ever watch it, it's classic. Al
hmm
Pacino, he's the middle. Well, he's the youngest son, and he's very cold. He ends up being the real Don, but his older brother
hmm
Sonny was very hot headed,
hmm
and he just wasn't a good Don because you can't be making impulsive decisions with the whole family on the line.
hmm
Gotta be cold and calculated. I
Yeah.
don't know what we're talking
Good.
about. Sorry.
No, I like it. Good call. Okay. All right, let's move on. Next team, Houston Texans.
A 7.
Off. Yeah,
A
that's
7.
good.
Like Green Bay. Like pretty much they're as scary as any team in the NFC. How about that?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
they're not a top 4 scary team in the AFC. A 7. Their quarterback, he's just a rookie, but you don't want to face him. He's
Mm-mm.
really good.
Mm-mm.
And it's a well coached team.
People
Kind of
like
like the
to
Packers.
totally. They are. Well, they're super well
Yeah.
coached. D'Amico's been killing it, and I feel like people like to discount um, players and even coaches solely based on experience. When it's like, who cares how long they've been in the league? Like Stroud's a rookie, but it doesn't matter. I mean, like I think experience can, playoff experience can come into play at times, but overall, it's like let's not discount this guy's skill. I mean, he's been tearing it up all year long, and he's not one to mess around with.
The best quarterbacks in the league have had success against the Niners defense this year.
Hmm.
Burrow, Cousins, uh, Lamar. So here's another one.
Yeah.
Stroud.
Hmm. I like it. Okay, now this one, the Rams.
7. 7. I wouldn't give any team in the NFC more than a 7. Not a great defense to speak of. Well balanced offense. Not an explosive offense at all. Kind of a methodical offense. Not no real speed on it. Um, and an excellent elite quarterback. 7.
Would you call me crazy if I said that they were our biggest NFC competitor?
No, you got him at 8.
Yeah.
Eight's fine. Eight's fair. Eight's totally
Hmm.
fair. Eight's
Yeah.
fair. I wouldn't argue.
Well, it's just they kind of scare me a little just because they are starting to heat up,
Yeah.
and
They could put up 35 on you.
they could put up 35 on you.
They can put up 35 on you.
Puka and Cooper Cup. I mean, those
They're
two
really
guys
good.
they're really good. Matthew
Kyron
Stafford, they're
Williams.
well coached. Kyron Williams, like that
Mhm.
offense mainly is what's super good, which kind of scares me a little. They beat us in the
You're right.
NFC Championship 2 years ago, so I don't
You're
know.
right.
That Rams, I don't want to play the Rams. I'd really rather not.
Fair enough. Hey man, that
Yeah,
you argued that 8 well. I'm not
yeah,
disputing it.
I love it. Okay, Cleveland.
9.
Yeah,
9.
me too, man.
Miles Garrett. Miles Garrett. He's the one guy who matches up with Trent Williams and can give him problems. We've seen this team. They beat up the Niners. The
Hmm.
Niners came in real arrogant, and the Browns just straight up beat them up. Knocked out Trent Williams, knocked out Christian McCaffrey, knocked out Debo. All 3 guys did not make it through the game, and that was back when PJ Walker was playing. So we've
Yep.
seen how that Browns defense matches up with the Niners offense, and we really haven't seen the best of the Browns offense against the Niners defense. Not saying the Browns would beat them, but I'm not saying they wouldn't. A 9.
Hmm. Yeah, you throw two guys at Miles Garrett, and it doesn't really matter. Like he will get through
He's
anybody,
so good.
and he'll get through Trent. I mean, there's chances where he'll be able to get through Trent at
Yeah,
times,
he
and
will.
it's scary, dude. Like going
Mhm,
against that guy and going against that defense, that's tough. So I have him at a 9 as well.
mhm.
I do not want to face the Browns, and they could make a sneaky run to the Super Bowl, dude. Like I think if I'm Baltimore, the one team in the AFC that's really, really scaring me, I guess outside of Mahomes, but Cleveland, dude. I don't want
Yeah,
to. I do not want to face Cleveland.
nah. And you don't want to face Buffalo either, because say what you want about Josh Allen and his turnovers. He's brutal.
Hmm.
He doesn't just beat you, but he trucks the defensive backs on your team. He
Yeah.
Derrick Henrys them.
Yes.
It's very physical. It's very violent.
Hmm. You're right. Totally. Okay. And then the last team, Baltimore Ravens.
9.
Hmm.
And the only reason it's not a 10 is I feel like the Niners put their worst foot forward against them, and they still outgained them for what it's worth. So maybe the Niners could actually have, you know, a sane game plan and win. But still, that's a great team with a great quarterback. 9.
Yeah, I mean, I have them at a 10, and I think just for the
Mm,
main reason of just I'd rather not play them more than I'd rather not play any other team. Like they're the team that I do not want to face, and if we end up playing them in the Super
Mark
Bowl,
Andrews coming back.
yeah,
Mark
that's
Andrews
what I
coming
heard
back.
today.
Yeah.
That would screw us even more. I mean, listen, I totally think we can beat the Ravens. On it, I think we're the better team than the Ravens. I think we are the better team, the better roster at least than the Ravens are. Um, but they do scare me, and to know what they're capable of absolutely mowing us over like they did on Christmas night, and pretty much every way. A Super Bowl against them would scare me. So I do have them at a 10.
Okay.
All right. Good stuff, dude. I love it. Right on. And then one last thing that I do want to get to outside of that, Mr. Brock Purdy, man. We saw him last year in the playoffs play a couple of games and then end up getting hurt in the NFC Championship against the Eagles. But it's time. We're back in the playoffs again. And I do want to know what you think. If you think Brock Purdy can lead this team to a Super Bowl, are you confident in that? How come?
Had some real stinkers this season, man. He's a really good quarterback. A really good quarterback. Top 10. But when he plays poorly, ooh. And we've seen him play poor. I mean, he melts down.
Totally.
It's like he snowballs. He presses. He's hard on himself. If he has a bad start to the game, it can get worse. If it's a good start to the game, he could cruise. But we've heard Kyle say this kid is hard on himself. And we've heard teams talk about him like he is an anticipatory thrower. There are certain spots on the field he wants to throw to with anticipation. If you do your homework, you can be in those spots. But it's not just doing your homework. You have to have the best coverage linebackers in the league. And not just coverage because they got to stop the run too against McCaffrey. You got to have the best linebackers in the league and some of the best safeties in the league. Guys who can stop the run and the pass. How many teams have two of those at each spot? Mm-hmm. Cleveland and Baltimore.
You're right.
And they have two of the best defensive coordinators in Jim Schwartz and Mike McDonald, who have proven that they can read Kyle Shanahan's mail. They've done it this year. So if the Niners face either of those two teams again, you'd be lying if you said you weren't nervous about what Brock's going to do against Cleveland and Baltimore. Mm-hmm. Now against Kansas City and Buffalo, I don't know. I haven't seen it. But we know Brock's game. He needs to throw with anticipation to be effective. We know it. Mm-hmm. And it can come back to bite you.
Yes.
Against the best defenses.
Mm-hmm.
Against the 100%.
Yeah. 100%, dude. And
because really, you need him to manage the game in the playoffs. If he throws 25 passes a game, hits the open man, checks the ball down, throws the ball away, throws no picks, Niners could win the Super Bowl just like that. That's how the Seahawks won it 10 years ago with Russell Wilson. But if they're like, hey, man, we need you to throw 40 times a game and take chances and risks, nah, they're going to lose. They're going to lose.
That's where it gets dicey.
Yeah.
And another thing, too, is just we really haven't seen – I get nervous because I don't know what the playoffs are going to look like, if we're going to be killing teams or if games are going to be close. But for the most part, outside of the 3-game skid and then the loss to Baltimore, we've been crushing teams, and we've pretty much been winning by a lot. And Brock really hasn't had to worry about coming back and playing from behind. And now
no pressure for Brock, no pressure for Jake.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
Yeah,
no pressure. No pressure
for Kyle. No pressure for Kyle. Those are the three, the trifecta of pressure. Kyle, Jake, and Brock. How you gonna do?
Yeah. Man. That's what scares me, dude. Listen, like you said, I'm a believer.
The two 24-year-olds and Kyle. Crazy.
Those three.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Always something with these guys. Yeah, dude. That's one thing that really does scare me, dude. It's just not that I don't believe in him. It's just I haven't seen it yet, so I don't really have much reason to believe that if we have to play from behind, he's gonna totally go kick some tail and lead us to a win. Like, I don't know. You know,
to be fair to Brock, I feel like the whole offense isn't built to play from behind.
It's not.
From the coach to the offensive line, the playbook, it's just not what they do. So I'm not going to put it all on him, but I'll put some of it on him.
Oh, yeah. No, definitely. And I mean, and luckily it's worked out that way where for the most part, we haven't even had to because our offense has been so elite. But the times that it has, I guess, aside from the Browns game, because technically he didn't have a good game, but he did lead that game-winning drive, and then Jake Moody came in and absolutely shanked it. So there was that too. So, you know, that's just the one reason why I'm a little iffy if he can lead us, because again, we're going to be going against some solid teams, and if we end up going against the Ravens, who knows how the game is going to look, what the structure of the game will be. But if we have to play from behind, I do get a little bit nervous, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing with Brock is like the Niners have assembled this team with these five, like they can put five eligible receivers out in the pattern, and all of them are really good. Whether the fifth guy is Juszczyk or Jawan Jennings, they're all threats. Not that many
Hmm.
teams can do that. And I think with all of them on the field and Kyle Shanahan designing and calling the plays, usually one guy's going to be open.
Hmm.
And Brock's so good at just seeing it and not hesitating and putting it on him. I mean, it sounds like
Yeah.
it's easy and is managing the game, but he's really good at that. It's just when the Niners face those rare defenses that are top tier who can play elite zone defense or match up man to man like Cleveland and Baltimore. And they don't have any weaknesses at corner, linebacker, or safety. None.
Hmm.
So it's not as simple as just, hey, who's open? What if no one's open?
Hmm.
What are you gonna do? Like, are you gonna force it? Are you gonna throw some passes into coverage? Because that's what you did against those teams. Or
Hmm.
are you gonna just check it down, manage the game, and win with your defense or run the ball? We'll have to see. We'll have to see.
But also, we've seen situations where they haven't been open, and Purdy's been able, like unlike past quarterbacks like Jimmy, he's been able to really create something and give himself a little bit more time. And then, although I guess that he's had a couple which are like, holy criminy, dude, like why would you even try that? And they end up working out. But like against
That's my
Washington, when he,
issue with him.
yeah,
That's my
hmm
issue. Like,
and that
for
could get
example,
scary.
it to me, this started after the bye week. He lost 3 games in a row, and people were talking about job security. I was.
Hmm.
I mean, 3 games in a row, and he was throwing a lot of picks. Apparently, apologized to the team. All this. He comes out against Jacksonville, and it felt like he was playing for his job. I mean, you
Hmm.
lose to Jacksonville, you lose a 4th in a row, and you throw picks.
Hmm.
So he comes out. I mean, remember this game? He comes out first drive. They're in the red zone.
Hmm.
He rolls to his left, throws back to his right. There's like 8 Jacksonville defenders right where he throws it. It goes through all of their hands and lands in Brandon Ayuk's hands.
Hmm.
And, freaking Brock's like, yeah, man. Like, and it's cool. That's Brock, but he took a real risk. That was a terrible decision, according to
Hmm.
according to anyone, according to Kyle Shanahan. It worked out. And I feel like he's been playing that way ever since because he wants to show that he's a gunslinger. Gunslingers make throws like that. Then he goes against Baltimore this last, couple weeks ago. First drive of the game, forces the ball into the end zone on 1st and 10 from the 15 to a double covered receiver, just forces it in there. Very similar to that play to me from Jacksonville. This time it doesn't work out. And it sets the tone for the whole game. So don't do that.
Yeah.
Play
It.
within yourself just for 3
Hmm.
games, man.
Hmm.
Just for 3 games. You'll be immortal. You'll be one of the youngest quarterbacks who ever won the Super Bowl. No one will care how you did it.
Yeah. Not all those are going to work out like that one did. And I remember watching that one live against Jacksonville, and I was so shocked that he tried it, and then even more shocked it got through.
I don't like this whole gunslinger thing. I'm going to go on a rant with Brock Purdy right now. He makes some
Do it.
nice throws. He makes some
Yeah.
nice throws, okay? You're not a gunslinger. Just because you make a 1 or 2 throws a game that people are like, oh, wow, that was really, he fit that in a tight window. He extended the play. Man, your job is to just distribute the ball to your all pro playmakers who are wide open a lot of the time. That's your job. And
Mhm.
just because we can put together a 5 to 10-minute highlight reel of you making tight window throws, that doesn't mean you have to do that very often. Patrick
Mhm.
Mahomes has to do that all the time. Josh Allen has to do that. CJ Stroud has to do that all the time. Just because you can do it a couple times a game doesn't mean you have to go out there and prove that. Freaking check it down.
Yeah.
That's a great option for you. It's not a great option for most quarterbacks, but for you, checking it down, that's a 13-yard gain a lot of the time. It's not about proving yourself in that way in these next 3 games. Just win the game. Do what the Niners need you to do, which is check it down.
You're right. It's not about proving himself like that, and that can get scary, dude. Because like you said, we saw that against Baltimore and trying to prove it. Hey, trying to cement his MVP.
Him against
His
Lamar.
MVP.
Who's going to be the
Yeah.
MVP? Like, doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
dude. You're
Doesn't
right.
freaking matter. You lost, and now it's not going to be you or Christian because you lost.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Good point. You're
Mm-hmm.
right, dude. And I hope that it doesn't come to that. Like he's gonna start slinging the ball and trying to start forcing some things, and we just have to hope. I
Don't do
guess.
it.
Don't do
Don't
it.
do it. Don't
Don't
manage the
do it.
game. Take your
Mm-hmm.
ego out of it, dude. Check it
Yeah.
down.
Mm-hmm.
Check it the hell down. If you can go through the playoffs and not throw a pick, the Niners should win the Super Bowl. That's how good they are.
I totally agree.
That's it. Anything else is freaking bonus. And I'm not saying go out there and play like Trent Dilfer, but don't try to play like Brett Favre. It ain't you.
Mm-hmm. Good point. I love it, dude. You're right. And I'm praying, because I mean, I'm a Niner fan. I don't know if you're a fan. I guess you're more of objective. You just cover the team. But as a fan, I am praying and hoping that it doesn't end up coming to that, because I would love to see the Niners hoist another Super Bowl that I haven't been able to see them do in my life, because it's always been a playoff meltdown
I hate to think
year.
that Brock has a little bit of a Napoleonic complex. Like, hey, man, I'm better than you think. Just because I'm just a little bit smaller I'm the strongest arm doesn't mean that I'm just like, okay. All right. Okay. Fine. Whatever. Don't get caught up in the narrative around you, dude. Like, don't sink to that level. You determine the narrative with your accomplishments. You don't have to talk to Mark Schlereth and be like, anyone who watches film or knows what they're looking at. No, like, stop. It'll all work out.
I hope. I feel like I don't know. I feel like
you can't change people's minds by talking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can't. Definitely not.
You can't argue your way out of this one. Like, you just gotta play.
You just gotta play.
People come around.
Yep, people come
around.
They won't. Or they
won't. You win the Super Bowl, people come around, man. Go back and watch Tom Brady. That guy dinked and dunked left and right. No one cares.
No one's really gonna. Yeah, no one's really gonna remember that. Just go out there and do what you need to do and manage this game and win the Super Bowl, because you have the roster to do it. Yeah, you're right, dude.
Because if you can't win the Super Bowl with this team making $900K, people are gonna wonder about you, about giving you that $50 million a year. So
you're right.
For gunslinger, game manager, all you got to do to get that bag, win the Super Bowl. Any means necessary, dude.
Any means. You're right, dude.
Yeah.
100%. Good point. Right on, dude. Well, right on, Grant. I think we're going to wrap it up for that, dude. I really appreciate you coming on the show. That was a ton of fun. Everybody out there listening still, right on. You know, you can find us on social media, on Instagram at thenightshift.pod, on TikTok at thenightshiftpod, on Twitter at thenightshift, 2 T's at the beginning, 2 T's at the end of that. Everybody out there listening, you must have enjoyed something, so leave some sort of review, rating, like, subscribe. But be honest, let us know how we did. You know, we always love some constructive criticism, but let us know how you enjoyed the show. And Grant, again, dude, super appreciate you coming on, dude. Thanks a ton.
My pleasure, man. Great show. You got a good thing going.
Right on. And everyone go check out Grant's stuff too. Subscribe to his stuff. Cohn Zone, Cohn Phone. Go watch all that. It's always good stuff. And everyone out there listening, thank you. And that'll be it for me. I'm out. Peace.